The Godox GM55 monitor is lightweight. It comes with a foldable screen hood, a full HD touchscreen, and it has an array of different menu systems. And Godox very kindly sent me this model to test out, but of course all opinions contained within this video are that of my own. And with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So one of the most obvious benefits to having an external monitor like this is of course having that larger screen size, which makes it easier to shoot your video productions or photos. Those smaller DSLR cameras and mirrorless camera screens don't always cut it when it comes to seeing exactly what you need to see in order to film what you need to film or shoot. And the Godox GM55 monitor, which is a 5.5-inch touchscreen monitor, outputs a full HD 1920 by 1080 resolution, which allows me to see much more clearly what I want to film. So what exactly do you get out of the box? Okay, so we're going to be unboxing the Godox GM55 5.5-inch 4K HDMI touchscreen monitor. And I'm just going to take it out of the box now. We've got a warranty card, we have a how-to guide. There's the actual screen itself. So pull the screen out here, and it's quite lightweight straight away just pulling it out of the box. It does feel really light. And you have your little battery input here. It doesn't come with batteries, you have to supply your own NPF 550 Sony battery, which is quite common for these types of camera peripheral devices. Got a little white box here. Just gonna break that open. Okay, so we've got the HDMI connectors, which you can use to stream through from your camera to your device. A nice little connector here to be able to mount it. Yep, on top of your hot shoe, which is pretty cool. Little Allen key, I think that's for the little mount there. And if we slide out this little compartment here, what do we have? Aha! So this is really cool. This is just the lens hood here, which flips out. So obviously in strong light, I wonder if that should just pop on like that, right? Yay, just kind of pops on. So in very strong light, when you're trying to shoot outside, having that little hood on will enable you to see your screen better. And all in all, this is really light. So that's cool because you can keep that on like that then. All in all, I think this will sit very nicely on your camera, maybe on top of your mirrorless or DSLR camera, or if you mount it on something like a gimbal, like a Ronin S, I think this would all fit really well. So how about when it comes to the ergonomics? So first up, looking at the ergonomics of the GM55 Godox screen, it's all made of plastic, but it's not too bad. It feels quite durable. There are 3 mounting points at different sides of the monitor, so you can mount it in quite a few useful ways, or you can mount it in ways that are going to be useful to you. I've got the actual pop-up hood on here at the minute. It pops up for me, and you know, that's really useful to have the sun blocked out. And what we can do is actually just close this down and unclip it as well. He says okay. At the top here we've got some custom function buttons. You've got 6 customizable buttons for quick menu access. We have a menu scroll wheel and button at the top, and a back button if you don't want to use the touchscreen. You can easily use these 2 buttons to scroll through the menu system. You've got your power button on the side here, and again you can tap that to lock the screen and unlock the screen for the touch screen functionality. At the bottom here, we've actually got a DC in. So I've actually got a MPF type battery on there already, but if you wanted to power it off of the mains, you can do so. You need to purchase that separately. And you've got an SD card slot here, and this is to be able to get your LUTs onto the monitor. You've also got a DC out. So if you ran out of power on your camera, you can actually power your camera through the monitor if you've got a dummy cable and connection, which would be really useful, I think, if you ran out of camera batteries. I've always got a million camera batteries with me, so it doesn't often happen. And we have a camera control section here. Just open that up. So these are separate cables that you can buy to be able to control your camera through the screen. Again, I don't have those, but I think this would be super useful. So you've got HDMI in. This is where you're going to get the camera signal piped in and get the video and the audio coming in, and also a camera out. So if you wanted to attach something like a wireless transmitter to this monitor, you could also hook it up like that. So something like the Mars 400S or 300. And you have a headphone input as well if you wanted to listen to the audio level. So that's just the ergonomics of the monitor. Again, it's lightweight. Having on your lightweight MPF battery as well, I think makes this quite a unique little screen. The Godox GM55 monitor is marked at around 450 nits of brightness, so not as bright as some of the other monitors out there in the marketplace. It's workable for outside videography and photography, but what really makes the difference with this model in particular is that Godox supply you with this very useful pop-out hood that clips onto the screen and makes it easier to view in bright, sunny conditions. Another benefit to using GM55 is being able to position the monitor for better viewing. For example, one area where I find external monitors particularly useful is on the Ronin S gimbal. And this model is especially great because of its low weight and also that super useful lens hood. Just being able to position the monitor in a way that allows you to shoot at different angles where you can't necessarily see the camera LCD screen makes it invaluable for shoot days. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our creative projects, make sure you go and add yourself to the KaiCreative Instagram and Facebook social feeds. For corporate work, especially interviews, I like to shoot using a 2-camera setup, and nowadays I've been using the Canon 5D Mark IV as my B cam, which doesn't have a flip out screen. So having that external monitor mounted and angled on the top of that camera allows me to glance over and ensure that things are composed correctly. So some of the functionality that I find particularly useful on external monitors is the focused assist with the focus peaking lines. And you can select F3 from the top mounted buttons here on your GM55 to get this quickly up on your screen. And what I find really great about the GM55 is that it works really well with the DPAF on the Canon cameras. So you can see the focus tracking box pop up on the screen, tracking your face, and the focus peaking lines working in unison with that. For me, having the audio levels piped through and visible is also very important, especially if I have a Rode mic with separate power attached. I can glance over and check to make sure that the audio levels are there, that the camera is recording audio, and that I haven't forgotten to turn the mic on again, which is definitely something that I'm paranoid about. Composition lines or grid lines are another great feature for me. Most cameras will have this as an option that you can turn on as standard. The GM55 monitor has the ability to split up your screen with 2x2 lines all the way up to 6x6 lines. In general, I'm happy with the 3x3 option, which allows me to line things up according to the rule of thirds. You also have your mark ratio lines for where your black bars will be for different aspect ratios, 4x3 or 16x9 for example, and you can have a center marker too, a safety marker, and a marker mat that you can adjust. And these are really useful if you want to add in those cinematic bars later on in your productions. False color is another important piece of functionality, particularly if you are shooting people. For interviews, you generally want to expose for the skin tones, and having false color on there can definitely help you to achieve that. Another bonus of having a larger screen is being able to show clients footage or photos that you have taken. And I've mentioned this before in previous review videos where I said that this is a bonus. But as we all know, a client who constantly wants to see the stuff that you've just shot can also be a bit of a distraction. So having an external monitor on a project can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. But if you're making a film where people need to huddle round or gather around and make sure that you've got the right take, then having an external monitor like the GM55 will allow you to quickly review your shots and ensure that everybody is happy. Another thing great about the Godox GM55 monitor is connectivity. It comes with 2 HDMI cable sizes, and I was able to connect it to my standard DSLRs, my 5D Mark III, my Mark IV, the Canon SL3, my mirrorless EOS R, and the Canon M50. It even worked on my GoPro Hero 4. So having this kind of connectivity is great. If you change or upgrade your camera, you have the ability to reuse your older external monitor. So at this junction, let's very quickly jump through the menus that are available to you on the Godox GM55 monitor. Hold the power button down until the Godox logo appears, and we should be powering up now. What I'm going to do is just get this camera recording, otherwise it will turn the screen off, or the camera will turn off for power saving mode. And in order to bring up the side menu, all we need to do is double tap on the screen, and you can see we have our menus. So the first menu is the focus assist, and we can turn it on down here. Tap that on, and we can choose different colors for our focus assist, so red, green, blue, whatever's useful. And as you can see, whatever's in focus in the screen will come up, and to get rid of our side menu, we need to do is tap screen once and it will disappear, and you can see all the bits that are in focus. And we can double tap to bring the menu back, and then we have our false color. Put our false color on, and what we've got is the false color menu bars here. And as you may know, when you're using the false color, you want to try and expose for skin tones. We don't have any skin tones here at the moment, but between 40 and 70, and obviously you've got the pink and the green there to be able to expose the skin tones of your subjects if you're filming a person. And it's really useful just for the false color alone. This screen is definitely something useful. So double tap again, and we've got our zebras, and they go all the way from 60 IRE up to 100 IRE, so you make the choice. It's very easy to customize these menus. You've got your monochrome with different colors. Whoops. So you've got pixel to pixel, again that's for your mapping. You've got the image flip in case you're mounting this screen a certain way and you need to flip the image. You've attached it in a weird way to your setup, maybe you need to flip it horizontally or vertically. Just turn that off. We've got a zoom here, and I'll just turn that on, and we've got a 2x zoom or a 4x zoom, and there's also a user defined zoom, and we can it's like a phone. Whoops, just come off of there. We can actually pinch in and pinch out just like your smartphone, which I think is really a really cool option on the GM55. We've got camera controls. Now I don't actually have the control cables to be able to control my cameras through this, but this is a really useful piece of functionality. And the battery, so whether you want to display how much battery life you've got. Now if we move on, we have our aspect ratio, and you've got obviously things like 16:9, 15:9, 1.33:1. We have a center marker, which is that little crosshair there, and we have the safety markers. Again, if you're going to add bars in later on, you can have these margins to help protect your shot. So when you're taking your shot, you have those margins in. You've got map markers, grid lines, and you've got your standard 2x2, 3x3, all the way up to 6x6. I prefer the 3x3 just to help me with the rule of thirds when I'm lining things up. LUTs, again, you can load LUTs onto your camera if you want, so you can go to import and put them on an SD card. And what I've got is some LUTs that are for the M50. Okay, and you can load them up here, so you can select it, and that's it without the LUTs, and adding that LUT image on, which is pretty cool if you want to see what the end result is going to look like, especially if you're shooting in a log profile. And also we have our waveform, so we can turn on our YUV. Oops, let's pop that on. Y, There you go. So luminance, YUV. So I guess that's luminance and chrominance. Your RGB levels, which you often see or often use when you're color grading or color correcting in Premiere or whatever you're using for that. And then you've got your histogram here, really useful to have that on screen, and your vector. Your audio meter, again, you can turn that on. So now you can see the audio levels, again, really useful to make sure that if you've connected a peripheral device like a microphone, you're going to want to make sure that that device is actually connected. So there's been times where you connect your microphone and you're like, oh, I haven't turned it on. That won't be an issue. If you don't see things peaking over here, or you don't see any movement here, then you know you've got a little bit of an issue there. Or there's an option to have all the waveforms on, so I should turn that on, shouldn't I, really? All the waveforms on, and then just splits. You've got your histogram, vector, luminance, and your audio bars all on the screen with the live feed. Again, really useful to have this as part of your setup. So the next menu, basically all of these are affecting the image that is being displayed on the screen. So your color space, brightness, contrast, saturation, hue, sharpness, color temperature, and RGB. And we've actually still got that LUT on, so let's take that LUT off. There we go. And also the custom buttons. So you've got these buttons at the top here, and you can customize those buttons down here. So camera controls, F1, F2 is the LUT switch, focus assist, false color, center marker, and the safety margin. So that's what they have set up on the system already. You might want to change those around for later. And then we've got the user settings. So the volume, there is a headphone jack here for you to listen back to content that you're filming or listening back to it. The backlight, I've got it set to 100 at the moment. Now this actual screen is about 450 nits of luminance. Now there are many screens out there that have much higher nits of luminance. I reviewed a best view monitor not too long ago that has about 1000 nits, so it's really bright. So for some this might be a little bit of letdown. You've got user settings, reset, not going to touch that, and upgrade, and language, Chinese as well. Not going to touch those really, maybe just have the backlight up, but obviously that's as bright as it will go. So if you want to lock up your screen, there's just tap the power button, and if you tap the power button once, it locks the screen, so now you can't operate it by tapping it. And up here we have a menu button, and if you click on that menu button and scroll wheel, now you can actually scroll through the menus and modify them. Or there's a back button here, so you can push back as well and modify your menus that way. So that's just to help you avoid touching and changing menus while you're operating it. And also if you tap it again, it will unlock, so you can bring your menus back on. So how much will one of these handy little monitors set you back? Well, if you jump over to Amazon, I've seen them selling for about $199. That's around £150 in the UK. Not bad at all for a monitor of this quality. Now, when it comes to using external monitors, there are going to be some drawbacks. And one thing to remember is that it's all extra stuff. It means having to have those extra batteries, it's stuff that you have to charge up, stuff that you have to remember to bring, to maintain, extra stuff that you have to carry around. And that's not great if you're looking to simplify and lighten your setup. But of course, each project is going to be different. So you really need to have a clear objective to using one of these monitors. You have to weigh the positives and the negatives and whether it's worth to bring it on your project or not. So what do you guys think of the Godox GM55 monitor? Do you already use an external field monitor? If so, which one and for what reasons? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, do consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that little bell for notifications. So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. All that's left to say is stay creative, stay safe, imagine, implement, and inspire. And I'll see you next time on KaiCreative.